Hello there to all the athletes, the health freaks, the ketone fans out there. My name is Viktor Hald Thorup. I am a dietitian, but I'm also a professional speed skater, multiple times Olympian. And in this video, I will be giving you what I believe is the 5 key benefits, the most important benefits to taking ketone supplements. Now, as you may know, I am sponsored by Ketone IQ. I started taking Ketone IQ more than a year ago. Ended up improving my results like crazy. I made multiple videos on it, but long story short, I improved my FTP by multiple percentages and especially my easy intensity zone 2 aerobic wattage by more than 20 watts, looking at the average from 1 month to another without changing anything in my training schedule. That is just crazy. So I want to teach you, I want to explain to you what the main reasons to take ketones actually are. Obviously, there is a lot of BS and miscommunication out there. So just want to go straight into the scientific facts about the ketones in this video so that we're all on the same page and we know what works and what doesn't. Now, if you're not already on the Ketone IQ train, the reason I chose Ketone IQ is because it simply works. The packaging is super practical. What's inside these is the best you can get. And they just simply work. It is super cool because you can get a subscription so that you get the amount you need delivered every month. If you do that, there is going to be a 30% discount on that link below that I got from Ketone IQ. So make sure you use that one. Even if it's just to try them out, you can always cancel that subscription, but I definitely recommend it. Of course, it all depends on your budget, but the best you can do is to basically take these before, after, and during every single workout, but they work instantly. I'm going to dive into how and why. So regardless of what amount and how often you take these, they will benefit you. Of course, the more the better. The first thing I'm going to mention here in the list, the first thing that comes to my mind, probably also your mind when we're talking about ketones, is the fuel efficiency. That is how they got famous from the start. We're talking about ultra endurance athletes that realized, wow, ketones can actually be more efficient. When I say efficiency, it means basically you can develop more power, you can use more energy with a lower oxygen consumption. And obviously, in the long run, we want to spare that oxygen for the harder efforts and for when we run out of energy. So if we compare ketones as a fuel for the body, it is more efficient in terms of oxygen usage when we compare it to glycogen, or even if we compare it to fats. So that's why it's the optimal endurance fuel. Now, next up is the brain benefits, the cognitive performance benefits of taking ketone supplements. This is a huge one to me. It's hard to measure, so we don't often dive too far into that. But just to give you an example, even when glucose is available from carbohydrates, 80% of the fuel needed by the brain can actually be furnished by the ketones. So if you either want to freshen up your mind, be more efficient. It's a thing I mention often. It feels a little like an espresso shot. You just wake up when you take the ketones. Or if you're looking at it the other way around, if you want to spare that glycogen storage for the sport you need it in, well, then taking the ketones can help you spare that, because you can use the ketones to fuel up to 80% of your fuel needs for your brain, which is huge. Now, the next one is one that I know a lot of you find very interesting: the improvements in endurance performance. We did talk a little bit about it in the first point, basically a more efficient fuel. But when we look at endurance sports specifically, it's been shown that it's directly linked to increasing performance. One of the biggest studies on ketones use was with cyclists that managed to, in average, improve their time trial, obviously with placebo and everything taken into account, improve their time trial time by 2%. That is massive. I don't think you need to be an elite athlete to understand how big a difference that actually is. Also, it's one of the things that have been made so many studies on. Most of those that really seem to make a huge difference when taking the ketones are the longer exercises or longer training sessions where you simply manage to perform better at the end of it. Of course, if you want to dive into these studies, I'll leave the links below for you guys to read it for yourself and geek out in that comment section below. It's even shown that the ketone supplementation can increase the post-exercise EPO in healthy men, which is pretty crazy. Now, fourth on the list here is the improved recovery. This is the thing I've been tracking myself, looking at how my HRV increased and my resting heart rate decreased when I took the ketones compared to when I didn't. Obviously, there's also been some studies on this. The most interesting is a 3-week study where healthy men overtrained, just like we do in elite sports, for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, these healthy men saw improved recovery biomarker numbers. And the more interesting, they did see a 15% increase in power output, which is massive. This really just goes to show that you are better off taking the ketones regularly and not just in the advent or during a larger event. A really interesting thing, especially if you're not necessarily an endurance athlete, but more looking towards working on your strength, it is shown that the ketone supplementation right after a workout is proven to accelerate and enhance the protein synthesis, basically leading you to gains. So the final thing I found super interesting when going through all these studies and meta studies on ketone supplementation is the effect that it has on general wellness and health. I, of course, always come at things from this athlete point of view, but I do really think it's super cool how this can help basically every person out there on the street. So it's been proven that ketones here, they actually decrease that spike in blood glucose or blood sugar that we see after a sugar-rich meal, meaning that these can be incredibly useful for people struggling with diabetes or just severe insulin resistance. This is a super cool feature, and I love that this is not just in order to improve your performance, that this can be a changer or a game changer in basically health to the average person out there. Big fan of supplementing ketones. I think Ketone IQ is my preferred fuel because it simply works so well. They've done these awesome packaging here, and yeah, just a big fan. What's inside these is also superior. Yeah, I made a video on that if you want to dive into why specifically I think Ketone IQ is the coolest product out there in the market. Leaving the discount code below, and I'm just inviting all of you to comment in this video if there's anything you would want me to dive further into in my next videos. But basically that was it from here. Hope you want to subscribe, and I hope you want to like this video if you found it to be useful in any way or the other. Cheers. Oh yeah, they taste so poorly, but it's so worth it. Never get used to it. Cheers, y'all.